This is the brand new Honor Magic V3, and I have to compare it to the Z Fold 6 because I feel like this design, this hardware should have been the Z Fold 6. Samsung is getting lazy, you know? It's like they fired all their engineers and hired everyone from Temu because they haven't updated this design in years. Like, don't get me wrong, I still like the Z Fold 6. It's still a really cool phone, but after using this, like the hardware, there's no comparison. And don't get me wrong, this Honor Magic V3 is not perfect. Like, there's a couple of things that I do not like about this phone, but from a hardware perspective, it's completely on another level. For example, you pick up this phone, it only weighs 226 grams. That's a lot lighter than the 239 grams of the Z Fold 6. It's 9.22 millimeters thick compared to 12.1. To give you guys some context, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is 8.3. That's very, very close to regular smartphone thickness. Now, both of these phones have water resistant, they're IP8, but the Galaxy Z Fold 6 is IP48. So it has a little bit of dust resistance, but thick pieces of dust, like regular, normal, small dust is probably still going to get into the phone. The other thing that I love is that the Honor Magic V3 nailed the perfect front screen size. Like the OnePlus Open has a good front screen size, same with the new Pixel Pro Fold, but 6.43 feels like the perfect size. It's very usable, it's very easy to manage and type on. This might feel more comfortable to hold with one hand, but doing anything on this display is not as enjoyable as the other foldables currently on the market. Now, they both have a very different look. Like, this looks more classy. It has this vegan leather back. It just, I don't know, it speaks premium. The Galaxy Z Fold 6 looks cool too, but it just feels more basic. In fact, I would almost call it industrial. The edges are sharper, it's squared off to match their Galaxy design, but at the end of the day, it just doesn't feel as comfortable to hold as the Honor. The front display on the Honor gets a lot brighter, like 5,000 nits of peak brightness. That's crazy bright. Like, don't get me wrong, day to day, looking at both of these displays, they both feel equally bright, but once you start playing HDR content or if you're outdoors, that's when you notice the display. Also, they managed to squeeze a 20 megapixel camera for the front-facing camera compared to 10 on the Galaxy phone, but I still find the picture quality on the Z Fold 6 to look a little better. I find the skin tones look a lot more natural. They got the contrast right. All right, so right now you're looking at the front-facing cameras on the Galaxy Z Fold 6 and the Honor Magic 3. The sun is hitting me directly in the face, so let's see how each phone is handling the highlights. Also, more importantly, how do the microphones sound? You guys let me know which one looks better, and of course, which one sounds better. If you want stylus support, they both have it. You can get the S Pen for the Z Fold 6, or you can pick up Honor's Pen and use it with the Honor Magic 3. Obviously, these cost extra. I do like the fact that Honor does include a case in the box. It's a very nice case. In fact, it matches the phone perfectly. It protects the spine. I personally leave the front portion off because I feel like the back case is doing it enough, but I like the fact they included a little clip on the back that turns into a stand because you would never notice it. Like, it blends in and it doesn't add a lot of thickness to the device. As for speakers, they both have stereo speakers. I couldn't really tell a difference. They both sounded really good, but you guys listen to it and tell me which one sounds better to you. Now, there are two little things I prefer on the Z Fold 6. One is the fingerprint scanner. Because the phone is thicker, it's bigger, and getting your finger around it is easier. Sometimes with the Honor, I'll have part of my finger on it, it won't register, and then I have to do it again. Like, after a while, you get used to it, and then you nail the finger placement, but I usually nail it 100% of the time with the Z Fold. The other thing to take into consideration is the hinge. The hinge on the Z Fold 6 is much tighter, which gives you a lot more angles to play with. Now, both of these phones can obviously open up halfway, but the Z Fold 6 can literally go all the way back to here without going flat. Whereas the Honor Magic 3, as soon as you get to about, let's say here, it flops to the ground. The other thing I noticed is the performance. Like, they're both rocking 12 gigabytes of RAM. They both start with 256 gigabytes of base storage, and they both have a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. But out of the box, the Z Fold 6 is way faster. Honor throttles their phone so that it never gets hot. Like, this phone is not easily warmed up, like when you're using it. Whereas let's say I'm taking a picture on the Z Fold 6, the back of the phone gets warm. And the reason why that is because Honor's throttling their device, reducing the performance so that you have more of a cooler user experience. And because of that, the performance on this chip seems a lot lower. Now, obviously you can go into the settings and put it on performance mode and you'll get equal performance to the Z Fold 6, but then the device starts to get warm just like the Samsung. The other crazy thing is, considering how thin this phone is, the battery inside of it is much bigger. Like, we're talking about a 5150 milliamp hour battery compared to 4400. Like, the battery life on the Honor Magic V3 is so good. The best battery I've experienced on a folding phone. Like, I'm finishing the day with like 50% battery life left, whereas on the Z Fold 6, I'm finishing it with a lot less. You also just get a better charging experience. We're talking about 66 watts wired charging, 50 watt wireless charging compared to 25 and 15. But the one area where the Z Fold 6 completely destroys the Honor phone is the software experience. Like, Magic OS is okay. It's not my favorite. I've had a couple of quirks where like apps wouldn't resize properly when you're opening up the phone. Sometimes it would stall and I'd have to like close everything down to get it back open again. Whereas on the Z Fold 6, I didn't really have that problem. Like, don't get me wrong, apps would restart if I go back and forth between the displays, which is totally normal, but it would never crash. Also, One UI is just a lot nicer to use. It's more polished. Magic OS feels like a ghetto version of Apple's iOS. Like, it just doesn't look as nice. The other advantage the Honor has is the internal display. It gets up to about 1600 nits of peak brightness, so not as bright as the 2600 nits of the Samsung, but it's a bit more matte. Like, it handles reflections better. Not as good as the OnePlus Open, but better than the Z Fold 6. The Z Fold 6 just does a terrible job of handling reflections. Also, the crease on the Z Fold 6 is more noticeable than the crease on the Honor Magic. Like, don't get me wrong, you can see it on both phones, but it's just a little bit more noticeable on the Samsung. The other thing is the cameras. You see the punch hole camera on the Honor Magic, whereas the Samsung device tries to hide it a little bit, but you can obviously see it with the light reflection. It's a crappy camera. It's 4 megapixels compared to 20. Like, I just can't get over how Honor was able to cram in all these bigger cameras and a bigger battery in such a thin phone, whereas the Z Fold is having a tough time. The other big difference is the camera experience. With the Z Fold 6, you get a 50 megapixel wide lens, a 10 megapixel telephoto lens, up to 3 times optical, then you have a 12 megapixel ultra wide lens. The Honor Magic V3, you have a 50 megapixel wide lens, a 50 megapixel 3.5 times optical lens, and then you have a 50 megapixel ultra wide lens. And look, they both take great photos during the day. It's really hard to say which one's better. I think the Samsung does a better job with white balance and obviously exposure, but they're really, really close. I will say though that the wide camera, not so much during the day, but at night, is better on the Honor Magic V3. It doesn't look like an oil painting, where I found it does on the Samsung. Also, the 1 times wide lens focal length is not as wide as the Samsung. That's why in a lot of these photos, the object I'm taking a picture of is a little bit closer on the Honor Magic V3. And having that 0.5 times optical extra space is really, really nice. I also noticed that digitally, the Honor Magic V3 does a better job than the Samsung phone. Like, when I took a picture of these buildings, it was just a lot crispier. It looked better. It just did a better job with its algorithm. But to be quite honest, it's really hard to take bad photos during the day, especially with phones that are this expensive. The only times I saw a bit of a difference was at night. I found that the Honor Magic V3 was a little more consistent, especially when it came to the wide lens. It just had a crispier photo. But again, we're trading like minor blows here. I wouldn't say it's significantly better, but there is a little bit of a difference. In terms of 4K video, they both look great, maybe a little better on the Honor Magic V3, especially when it comes to optical image stabilization, but when you do 4K video at night, they both look pretty bad. But here's the thing, like, you buy the Honor Magic V3 here in North America, who knows if you're gonna get updates, who knows if your phone's gonna get a warranty or supported. I mean, if you live globally, it's a totally different situation since this is the global version. And on top of all that, Honor hasn't had the best track record for updates. At least with the Samsung phone, like, this thing is gonna get updated for the next 7 years, where you might only get like 2 or 3 Android updates on the Honor phone and a couple of security updates. The price of these phones are both expensive, but man, I really hope this is a wake-up call to Samsung, because they're getting lazy. You know, they're getting lazy. Like, don't get me wrong, the Z Fold 6 is a great phone. It's just, when you look at stuff like this, you feel like Samsung is really, really slacking. Either way, I hope you enjoyed the comparison. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.